Hi everybody, it's Vera. I am here with a project. I'm making mixed media backgrounds today, and I have a beautiful set of cards sent to me by the beautiful Lollipalooza, and I thought this would be a perfect project to use them in. So these cards are like palm cards with, I don't know, Lolly, what, like how to grow plants in different environments, something like that. So they're really slick, and I thought in order to get them ready for getting for in order to get them ready to use for mixed media, I thought I would just brush them on with gesso and yeah, get that slick surface nice and ready to prep. So I'm prepping up all these cards now. This took a long time, so I'm just forwarding it here, and I think there's about 8 of them. And through the magic of speed, we're going to do these really quick. All right, so here they are. And for the first one, I thought what I would do is just use the distress inks that came in the Aunty Vera March kit. I'm just putting them on haphazardly, and then at first I tried with that brush, and it's just, you need to get in there with your fingers. So first use your fingers to spread the light color first, and then go in there with the darker ones. Here's the second one now. I'm just adding it in just a different way here, and then with a clean finger, just blending in through through the colors there, and just putting in a little bit of dark around the edges to make it cohesive. So there's those two side by side, and what I'm doing now is just drawing them, and I'm spraying one of them. So remember this one here, this is the one I'm spraying with a crystal coat fixative. I wanted to make sure that one of them had the background fixed. Okay, so they're both dry now. I'm putting the stencil through, I'm just taping the background here so that they sit together, and I'm going to stencil. I'm using texture paste, brand new texture paste. I ran out of my old one, on half of the one that is sealed and half of the one that's not sealed, just to see if there's a difference between whether the pigment ink leaches up into the texture. And as you can see here, as I start drying it, there is no difference really. You can see a little bit of leaching in the top one on the right hand side there. It looks yellow, whereas the bottom one, it looks white, the texture paste, but it still loses its vibrancy compared to you know, when you first come, see how when it first comes off it looks really fresh and white. So yeah, I'm going to talk more about this experiment in the end. So moving on to the next type of medium. So I'm now using Diane Reevely paints. These things are great. They go on really creamy. I did have a problem with the pink one. I contacted Ranger and they replaced it. Not a problem. They said there was something wrong with that initial batch, so that's not a problem. I find these are amazing. They go on smooth. They dry so fast. Hardly ever need to wait too long. Just making sure that they're dry here. And yeah, by the time you add it on, it's finished. You kind of really don't need to heat it. So I'm doing it again here. I'm sealing one and not sealing the other, and then I'm going to flip it over and then put the texture paste on one side and then add the gel medium on the other side. I'm just drying off the crystal coat here, and then again just going through, yep, here we go. So see how it's really nice and white when it first goes on? And I'm just going to add the gel medium here along the bottom section. I didn't want to heat set the texture paste as I did with the first one. I thought that maybe it, I don't know, maybe made it a little bit gooey. I'm not sure. So yeah, best to be patient. And then I thought I wanted to experiment with a darker background. All the other backgrounds that I used I did some off camera. I used quite light backgrounds, and I thought perhaps that the color of the paint that's first applied might influence texture, the appearance of the texture paste. So I thought I just want to have a dark background. Okay, so I just wanted to come back now and talk about the results. So you'll remember that this is gessoed. It is then colored or inked up with Tim Holtz Distress ink. I used the Helmer's Crystal Coat, which is a fixative, so it fixes one layer, and then you can then add on another layer, so it kind of seals your previous work. Yeah, so I sprayed the sealer on this one with the different grades going this way. With the idea of perhaps that sealing the color down would not allow it to diffuse up into either the gel medium or the texture paste. So I had the gel medium running this way, and I had the texture paste going this way. Now, as you can see here, the gel medium, so if you look at gel medium, it actually says that it will dry clear. And as you can see here, it has dried clear. Alrighty. Now, with the texture paste, it didn't dry clear. However, if you remember when we put it on, it was very, very white, and it looks like you'd think that it had absorbed the color, but it actually hasn't, and I'll show you why I think it hasn't, because I went on to do a few more experiments. So let me just move this aside and I'll show you the next one that we did. So the next one we did here was I used the Diane Reevely paints. Now these paints are amazing. I don't know, she doesn't really tell you the formula, and there isn't much on these tins. You just know that they dry really fast, and they're very vibrant. And if you have a look here, so there's the gel medium. So I sprayed, once again, I think it was this one that I sprayed, and there was no difference between the spray here and the spray here. So really, that sealing with the crystal coat, you don't need it. You don't need to do it because they sort of really acted the same here and here. The difference, like for example, there and there is a bit pinkish, and here it's really white. It's the thickness of the texture paste that you add. The thicker you slap it on during the stencil, the more white it will become. If you start scraping it down because you want to use the most little as possible, which is what happened in this section here, that's when the background will show. So at this stage I was wondering why is it that here it turned really, it was like it was milky and not as white, and here it was white. I used off camera, I did use another paint. This is where is my paint? So this is the Urban Crafter paints, and then I also used the pink here is the Creative brand, which is from Kmart. I did that once again. I didn't bother sealing it this time, and as you can see, it gives you that kind of milky, this is just texture paste now, not to worry about the gel medium. It gives you that kind of milky white, but not that fresh white that you really want. So then what I decided to do was I decided to use something called structure paste. Now this stuff, if we have a look, this stuff is gritty. Like, it looks like you're spreading sand. It looks like you're spreading cement, actually. White cement. So structure paste here, and then on this side what I did was I just used white acrylic paint. Now this stuff, as you know, acrylic paint comes off quite sloppy. It's not heavy bodied, so I would recommend that if you wanted to make it thick, I would put texture paste with it, because it was hard to keep at a thick layer. it always just wanted to seep underneath the stencil. But this is drying after, 2 days actually. And if you compare the white here with the white here, this is a fresher white here and here. Once again, the structure paste is a fresher white, the acrylic paint is a fresher white than this milky kind of white. So I came to the conclusion that I think that it's not this texture paste that's causing, that's reacting with anything. I think perhaps that the texture paste may be reacting here with the distress inks. I think that the distress inks are just a pigment and that they're like water soluble, and when you add them to anything that's porous, they will come up. So I think that's what happened here. Whereas when you use acrylic paint is like you're putting on a plastic layer, and so once it's dry, you cannot rework it. And that's why the texture paste sits on top here and it doesn't change color. The only thing that you see here is just the thinness. So my theory was that, is it the color of the paint that you use? And I really think it is. I used black here, I used dark purple here, and although I was in a bit of a hurry, I still added, I could have gone a bit thicker, but you can see here that it's white. It looks white compared to a dark background, whereas here it looks milky white compared to a lightish background. Here it looks like it's almost blending into the background because the brightness of the pigments in the light color equals to the brightness in the white of the texture paste here. So for those who want to achieve the white, bright, clean, like for example here, I think it's really important to use as dark a color as you need to. Similarly, like because the structure paste is full of, gosh, I don't even know what it's full of. Whatever the sand particles, whatever the cement particles that are in there. And of course, they're not going to give you any ingredients. It's their secret recipe. So that's a white particle in here, which gives it that fresh white look. So I think it was quite an interesting experiment to have a look at properties of medium, all the different mediums that you have, the gel medium, the texture paste, the difference between pigments. I mean, ink stamps deliver pure pigment. It just comes off as pure pigment, and that's why it's wet. And you have to think of the porous surface of whatever is going on top of it, whatever's underneath it, and that's why we've added the gesso. The gesso creates a non-porous surface so that your inks, your pigments can sit on top of it and they don't just leach into your paper. So this to me was a very interesting scientific experiment. And you just get you get different looks depending on what it is that you're looking for. And I really just wanted to show you what you can do with these backgrounds. So for this one, I did draw over her. She was a bit bulky with all that texture, but it looked good in the end. And here's one where I actually applied the Nouveau Glimmer paste over the leaf stencil. Love that gold in the background, and then just added some cutter parts. Here's another one where I added acetate, and then I'd fussy cut some little characters. So I just love how it all peeks out from underneath everything with the texture paste in the back. And there's another one I added an acetate, clear acetate sheet. I stamped with StazOn, and then I wrapped it with jute and put a glimmer paste leaf. Here's another one where I added a prima doll and just added textures, and I've made her dress as well with pattern paper. Another one here, the background is actually perfect pearls that are put onto the wet texture paste. Another acetate sheet and another Dina Wakley StazOn stamp on top of that. Here's another one where I stamped the bird on vellum and then added that border, jute, washi. Beautiful. Here's another one, that dark one. I used the Die and Reevely birds and stamped it onto pattern paper and just put some extras. That looks really good. This is my favorite. So this is an acetate sheet. I've got a Stays On stamp there, and then I dripped alcohol inks over the top. They look fantastic. My favorite one. Thanks for watching, everyone.